I'm currently at work, as you might be able to see, and I'm studying for my exam that's in like 2 days, 3 days. I'm nervous, but I'm reading. I didn't get to go to the lecture on psychosis, which is really unfortunate, but I'm reading it now. And I was like reading about like hallucinations, and I actually remembered that I was like, wait a minute, I know acetylcholine something is also linked to schizophrenia. And I think it's low acetylcholine. And then I looked it up and it was low acetylcholine. So I'm gonna talk about that in my paper too, I think. Yeah, because I saw hallucinations. And isn't that like that's also gonna be relevant, I think. Yeah, so I was like, I need to mention that too, like, link it. I have so many thoughts brewing, dude. I want to get out of all of this. I've been hoping it's like, it's like people say like make it out the hood with this one. I'm really hoping that I'm gonna make it out of like this general energy with this project because oh my god, dude, I have so much cool stuff I want to like study and like so many ideas brewing and everything. And anyways, back to studying.
Tengo que hablar con ellos porque no sé si puedo.
Puedes venir estos días.
Sí, no sé. Pienso que Thursday, no sé. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay.
Ah, mirando eso porque they were trying to kill me with work. Just trying to give me work, 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 working me like a dog. I got work to do. I can't be here. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I gotta make it out with this project. This project needs to be everything. Anyways, the point is, I started thinking something else. I'm gonna jump in my conclusion. Anyways, I was thinking about the psychosis. So I was thinking about the psychosis. Look at me doing my studying. Yes, such a good student. Anyways, I started. Okay, because now we're writing it. Okay, where is my little theory? I was saying another thing. Okay, where is it? Oh my gosh, no, this actually, I was like, wait, where did it go? Three lines. Why does dissociative amnesia persist over time? Okay, here. Okay. What if, because the dissociation and schizophrenia go, like, schizophrenia is also dissociative. And so, what if dissociation isn't just the upper levels, but also like the lower levels? And it's anywhere that you're not having like that, not in all situations. I think that further emphasizes the idea that like a middle level of acetylcholine, while you're meant to be in a state of arousal, facilitates facilitates selfhood, like the sensation of selfhood, while like if you're meant to be in a state of arousal, low and high is like dissociation, like self alteration. So if you have like too much leaking in from like internal patterns, then if this customer rings the bell, I'm gonna go insane. Let's pray. Let's pray he knows how to open the door. Okay, this is the second try. Okay, I think someone's gonna help him. Too much leaking in from internal patterns, then it's like your selfhood is gone. Like not fully, but like your your sensation of self is gone. And if it's too high, also okay, because the thing is like, oh my god, these people. Customers, please learn to open the door challenge. Okay, he did it. Everybody clap. Good job, customers. I'm proud of you today. Anyways, okay, so sensation of self is gone. And if it's too high, then like you don't get any patterns at all. So it can't be suppressed and like completely like overactive, or like selfhood is it's not, I don't know, messed up. I don't know. So that just implies that like middle ACH is like peak like identity and like sense of self. And like if you, because you can, this is why, because you can connect to your internal like framework, but you also have like attention. So you can connect to the past and the present kind of, and make associations with your past. But if it's too low, you can't distinguish, like you can't distinguish self from other thing, like from other patterns in the network, or like that's how I'm like thinking about it. But then if it's too high, you can't connect to you can't connect to any patterns. So then like you can't connect to like yourself. You see? So then that's why low and high would also probably make dissociation. Where if it's too high, that's where you're getting dissociative amnesia. Because it's not that the framework isn't there, like I don't know how to put it yet. But then too low, that's where you get like schizophrenia. I have this theory, and it's not going to be in this paper probably, but I want to talk about it. That I've been thinking about my own experience. Okay, I've been thinking about my own experience with chronic stress and when it was that my worst symptoms started popping up. This is a theory right now. We're going to write it at the end. Okay, we're going to write at the end. Basically, I have this theory of chronic stress where I think that people, like when people start to get in trauma, like obviously this is already said in the paper, if they can't consolidate it, then like the ACH is just like elevated too much, I guess, all the time. The thing is that when that happens in chronic stress, then it gets depleted. And then because of that, your brain can't make ACH. Your brain cannot make ACH. Brain can't make ACH properly. So then it could be that you actually would get the features of low ACH, and then that could cause people to have psychosis symptoms from chronic stress, and also like more amnesia. Because actually, for example, people with dissociative identity disorder, for example, that are like chronic stress people, like they also just get like memory gaps for their life. And I do think that's probably because of the alter switching, which I have my own theories on it already. I'm telling you, I have so much stuff that I'm just like, I want to look into it. Alter switching. But I also think that it probably does come from like maybe low acetylcholine from chronic stress. So then you get like the Yerkes-Dodson, like, okay, this is the Yerkes-Dodson shift arousal, where I'm gonna write about this in my paper as well. Open. So basically, like, it's kind of like similar vibes, but like I guess the acetylcholine, I think there's a point in trauma where it's like, okay, PTSD, acetylcholine is high, up, and then like at some point, like it's not the Yerkes-Dodson law, I'm just using this image, but it's like then the acetylcholine starts to break down. You can't like get it together, and then it gets harder to process the world, because when I was going through trauma at a certain period, it was so hard to process the world. It was very hard to like distinct. It was hard to like figure out my brain. Like it was like there was a marked like moment where I started to feel worse. I started to have inflammation and like gut health stuff. Like I started to get digestive issues. I started to feel like lethargic and stuff all the time. And then at this point was when I started to have like certain clusters of symptoms. And I was like, I think that at this point, I think it gets harder, like your system starts getting depleted. This was the point that I like, actually it's a bit complex, but I started like, I think it gets harder to unpack the world. like it gets harder to break the world down. And then I think that's probably like right here is when people maybe start having more psychosis-y type stuff. I don't know actually, but I wonder because I know that people say that schizophrenia and trauma is interlinked, and I would think that at some point it gets harder for your brain to actually like make the acetylcholine, and then down here it's like you're just like it's just a downhill spiral from there where like okay, memory issues, hallucination, like stuff like that. That's what my thinking is. I'll put this somewhere else at some point, but I actually think like I have a strong feeling. Anyways, back to studying because I do have an exam in 2 days. I don't know if you can tell from my face, but I'm very tired and my shift has ended, but I spent the last like hour. Let me show you what I did. I did a bunch of studying for my exam, and then I was getting really inspired by reading about like all these different models of schizophrenia. And I don't know if I need to save, but I was reading about all this. I was thinking about things that I could mention in my paper, like the whole dysfunctional schemas, maybe, I don't know, and the poor reality monitoring, so keeping track of internally versus externally generated experiences. I'm going to try to talk about that when I talk about the blendedness. This is in my discussion section. I'm just going to mention it in passing, and then like even maybe attentional biases, but I don't know if that's even relevant. But I might mention that if I can actually find a paper. So then I went and I was like, oh, let me just really quickly fix my little model up because something had happened and I was like, what's happening? Like I'm getting everything is coming up perfectly now. And this is where the YouTube videos actually come in handy because I was able to look back to my old, like my model, because I think something got lost along the way. I had to like remake it. And I think maybe Claude, I don't know, maybe Claude fixed something on purpose. I don't know what happened, but essentially I stopped getting the results at low acetylcholine. But then I figured out what it was. It was like something in the bias or something like that. Yeah, it was here, it was the bias had gotten changed over time. So everything was coming up perfectly no matter what. But I don't know. Anyway, so I fixed it back and then I did start to get the results again. So now you can see at like acetylcholine, what level is this? 0.3 or something. As I start getting ready to go home from work, but I was like, I can't be at peace because I was like, that's my results. Like my results need to come back. Now at 0.3, you can once again see, let's see if you can see it. I think it's finicky at around 0.3 anyways. If you go to 0.1, you can see it very well. Here, only sometimes you see it with some patterns, so this is probably around the point, but I'm gonna like 0.4 seems to be a really important turning point for acetylcholine actually, like 40%, because I saw that in both models that around there is when like the breakdown kind of starts. It's really interesting. Like that's just like the weirdest turning point, but here sometimes you get the results at 0.3, sometimes you don't really see it, but like here this time around you don't see it. Except for it you see a little bit of loss, like it lost one. At 0.1 you for sure see it. And then at 0.3 you sometimes see it. Okay, I need to go home so bad. Tomorrow's like a big study day for me. But at least I can go in. You see like right here it's really prominent without any like worry. Yeah, you know, like obviously, let me show again. Thank God. I was really nervous because I was like, oh my God, I was really excited to talk about that. And I was like, I have so much to say about that. I was getting nervous that it had just like randomly disappeared, but you can see a little bit more of it acetylcholine. Like at 1, you see this whole line, like all the ones here are gone. Here, like lots of ones are gone. I want to show a hallucination. Let me see if I think I see a hallucination here. I don't know. I never feel like I know what I'm doing, but I'm just doing it anyway. So it's just like, okay. So I don't know. Sometimes those little things happen and I'm just like, I don't know. Anyways, you do like, even though it encoded like this, you see it hallucinated this. It hallucinated like here. It forgot here. So you see it like it's distorting the perception by like a bit. You see it hallucinated something right here because these are ones and they should be zeros. Well, but it could be from the noisy pattern though. No, it's not. You see, it's not at all. This one was a hallucination. This was a hallucination. So it hallucinates more. Okay. So now I need to run all my numbers again, which is fine because I need to fix some stuff about my metrics anyways. Like that one was a little bit of like a wonky one because it was my first run. So anyways, okay, let me go to bed. Let me go to sleep. Let me go home. It's getting exciting. Like I'm actually really close to done. This has been the most like exciting, cool thing in my life, but like I don't really have anyone to talk to about it, you know? Like there's so much stuff that just lights me up and just makes me feel so hyped up. And I'm like, whoa, like this could be really meaningful, but like I don't have anybody to talk to about it. So it's like, okay. But you see how useful the YouTube is because this YouTube channel has served so many purposes. It's my place to do like anything on this project because nobody really like is that it's not that people aren't interested, people just don't know that much about like, my I don't have any computational neuroscience friends or anything to be like or like acetylcholine friends to be like, yay guys, like guess what? Like no. So I don't have anybody to talk to about this. So it's like literally the most exciting thing happening to me right now. It's just like nobody would be hyped up the same level. And that's the first thing. Like usually when I tell people it's just like that's exciting for you, but like they're not that like hyped. But the other thing is that it actually is really I can't tell you how many times my YouTube has saved me. I'll forget like if I forget a paper, if I forget something I talked about, or like I'm like, oh man, totally forgot. I made that really cool point and I totally forgot about it. Or like just stuff like this where it's like sometimes I lose a paper and I'm like, what paper was it? And it's like, okay, I go back and the paper is there. Like I can see the name of the paper. So it actually it's weirdly useful. Like it's been a good thing. And then I could look back and be like, okay, like what random thing got thrown off here? Like thank God I had that video because like if I didn't have the video, like I would have been like searching forever and Claude might have never found it. So it's like, oh, thank God for that. So, anyways, yeah, my YouTube has been so useful for random stuff like that. Okay, off to bed I go. Hello again. I have a final tomorrow, but I've been doing this project still like on the side because it's like in the midst of my most intense inspiration right now. So it's really actually pretty annoying, but I'm having a really complex issue with this project that I'm going to show, and that is going to it's actually going to be a very important thing. When I tell you, I would give anything for this project to be over right now. Like, I actually want it to be done really bad. But this is the thing is happening. So I accidentally deleted my pattern separation code at one point, and then I had like a little like a document version or something that got saved by accident. So I put that into Claude. I was like, can you write it as a code again so I can copy paste it? Copy pasted it. All of a sudden, my biggest effect from pattern separation was just gone. Like the hallucinations that I was seeing were just gone. Okay. And I was kind of freaking out because I was like, I have now, like, I want to talk about this. Like, I've built all this stuff around this, all this stuff. Like, where did they go? Like, no matter what, they were just getting recalled just fine. I was like really irritated. Let's see, what acetylcholine level is this? 0.3. You see, at 0.3, my other one, I was seeing like hallucinations. And then at like 0.4 or so on, I was just getting like normal. But I was like, first of all, it was realistic. Like, it's realistic for me to see those issues at low acetylcholine. So I was like, it should have it. Like, where did it go? So I had to go back to my old video, like I showed. What was wrong was my bias. I don't know if Claude just automatically corrected my bias. I don't know if I accidentally changed something. I don't know, but the bias had gotten randomly changed. So this is from my job, ignore this. But this was the bias that actually made no issues. This was the bias where there was an issue. Like I did see hallucinations at the lowest point. So I was confused. I went to Claude and I'm gonna show you my conversation. So I started thinking like maybe that's like an indicator. Like maybe if that shows like what the solution would be, for people who have disorders related to low acetylcholine, is like that's like the key, right? Because then they don't have hallucinations and memory loss. They just maybe have like overly noisy recall or something. So I asked, what do these different biases do? What's the difference? And then it thought I was still talking about something else. So I explained like, no, pattern separation. I said the first one was accidentally added and wiped out the hallucinations. The second one was intentional. And I did see hallucinations and memory loss at low acetylcholine. I want to know why. So it explained it, but I didn't understand. This is my place where I'm learning and I'm very beginner and I didn't learn this in a class. So my knowledge, like there's always like a little bit of a gap between I'm like, I know this is important. This is my whole project journey is like I know this is important, but like I can't put my finger on how it works because I'm not I don't have the full knowledge, so it's really irritating. But I think what it was explaining is that it should have been the other one, this one. So I got kind of nervous, but okay, but wait, because I redeemed myself. I was like, can you explain it like I'm a 10th grader? So it started to explain it, and it explained that the correct one, basically in my model, it said that the sparsity was 0.2. We're gonna get to that. But so the correct one was basically using 0.2, multiplying by 0.2 to actually say like how it should be running. The second bias was using 0.5. So it was as if 50%. So it was from a densely coded thing. So that was what was going wrong, right? But I was like, this is very weird because this actually is how it works though. I was like, that is actually how it works though with acetylcholine. So I was like, I'm confused because I should be getting that result to a degree, right? So I started getting a bit nervous, like maybe I messed up. I've been thinking because this is related to like dementia and stuff. I was like, maybe that I didn't know how to put it yet, but I was like, maybe that like that threshold, because it was explaining that like it changes, like a lot of stored patterns can't clear the threshold. So it's like it's too much. I don't know how you see. It's like I'm understanding, like it's just starting to hit me, but I don't really fully understand 100% yet. So I was like, okay, I didn't know how to word this. I was like, maybe like with aging it gets harder for neurons to cross that threshold. Like could that be a reason? Claude took it so literally. I don't think that's the only reason, but it was like, no, this is not the only reason, and it's more complex than that. I was like, well, obviously, but it was like this, there are changes, but it was like, I don't know. I was like, it's too simple. Okay, well, duh. I'm not saying everything. I'm just saying like, could that be like a thing? But it wasn't. It was like yes and no. I, it was just like it's a little over my head because I've been in like trauma mode this whole time. I haven't been dementia mode, so I don't really know much about dementia to that degree. But I said, can you explain piece by piece the biases piece by piece from a technical perspective, like I'm a 10th grader? So this is when it starts to explain everything to me. But this is where I was like, this is the issue. Look here. So it was multiplying the right bias was multiplying by A, and it was like A is 0.2, which is your sparsity. And I was like, there's where you're going wrong. There's the issue because the sparsity isn't always 0.2 though. So it's been multiplying it by like a flatlined sparsity thing. And I told it, I didn't even read the rest yet. It said, the thing is that the thing for A is that the lower the acetylcholine, the less sparsity there is. So 0.2 isn't actually universal in the situation. And I think that's the issue. So when the acetylcholine is 0.1, there are actually 17 to 19 neurons active.
But when the acetylcholine is 1, there can just be 9 to 15 neurons active. So both of them are wrong. I'm overwhelmed. I'm very overwhelmed right now, but I think that's going to change things up. I just don't know exactly how yet. So we haven't gotten a right bias yet. I'm really overwhelmed by this amount of information. So I don't know. But that's definitely going to get changed. But I need to figure out exactly like all the issues. Your low acetylcholine dynamics behave like a sparse network being asked to retrieve dense memories. The threshold blocks too many bits, the weight points in slightly wrong directions, and the network ends up failing to retrieve cleanly. That's the artifact that wrong bias was demonstrating, but the underlying issue isn't just the bias formula. It's the whole sparse Hopfield prescription assumes constant A, and your model violates that assumption by design. And I think I'm still going to end up getting the same issue if I fix it, but I just need to think. This is overwhelming now because this is more technical. This always tunes the networks to the patterns it actually got. So it's giving me options what I can do, that I can have a target density. The thing is that 0.2 is way too high anyways, because 0.2 is like the max, like, I don't know, even the lowest of the low is at 0.2, like even under that. So I think that's just way too much anyways. I don't know how to fix this yet. I don't. Mismatch at low acetylcholine is then a model trying to receive. I would never get an issue at 0.2. There's just too much I would have to do at this point. I'm just sitting here like really intensely overwhelmed about how much research, like I could go like way harder on this. Do brains naturally change to attune to the amount of sparsity? Is that something they do? Is that a function? Get what I'm saying? I have these kinds of questions that I just don't know the answer to at this point, but I think that it doesn't matter. I have 2 finals this week. I think once they're done, and I probably will get more done over this time anyways, but once they're done, I think I'm gonna have like more information. Let's ask that. Either way, I know this mechanism is right, okay? Because I know that people with schizophrenia, like the world gets really noisy for them. And I know that like that means that they are getting that effect. I know this for a fact. So I just need to figure this part out. Maybe I can implement something like this and then it will also touch up something else. I would give anything for this project to be done. I'm so dead serious. It's like I'm so tired of having another thing to like, oh wow, now you have to figure this out. And it's like I want to be done. Like I'm done with this. Like don't give me more. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm so tired of this. This was meant to be. I didn't mean to do all this. Okay, so this is what interesting. The brain does account for sparsity, but on a time scale of hours to days, not milliseconds. So it might still be that like that might still be good information if I don't know, something like that. This is so tiring, genuinely. I can't. Don't give me any more. I can't. I could go a lot sparser. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like 20% is a high amount. I could set the amount like a little bit lower, I think by a lot actually, and set a threshold that might be more relevant to like the middle stages. And then that way, if it does pass that, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like maybe some runs it does pass it just fine. Other ones it doesn't. At like middle stages. I'm very distracted by a fox that's just randomly walking around my backyard. Is that a fox or a cat? Doesn't matter. Anyways, these targets are evolutionarily. This is just too much for me. In the beginning of my project, if you had given me something like this, like my brain was sharp. I was ready for all this. at this point in my project, I'm like, I can't handle more information, but I keep having to handle more information. And I just want this to be done so bad. I was already thinking I'll run 2 experiments. Actually, this is what I thought on my way home because I was like, I should talk about this versus this anyway. So I could just model different different sparsity levels. I don't know. So I could have one where it's like maybe just like more normal, I don't know, like 15% or something. And then one where it's like just something like that, like harsher. And then maybe I can talk about that. It's like what changed over time and how the model reacted to that. So instead of actually having like a bunch of basically instead of having oh how like an actual time component, I can show that once the system kind of like regulates to that, the issue is gone. I don't know, something like that. We'll see. I have no idea right now. And I'm tired and I just really want this project to be over and I don't want to study for finals, to be honest. I don't want finals to exist. And I want a vacation as well. I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to do my job. I don't want to do any of my jobs. I want to do this project and I want the project to be done now, immediately. Like no more work on the project. And I want to submit the project and I want to have nothing to do. No work. That's what I want. I don't want to do this. But, at this point, it's like, you got to commit to the bit all the way through, and then it'll be done, and then amazing. Great. Do you see how this project has slowly been consuming like everything in my life? Like, you see how the Notes app, like, let me show like a different Notes app amount, like space. Here we have what? Nothing. We have my life issues, things I want to do, my job. Now all it is everywhere. It's like everywhere I turn, dementia, psychosis, low acetylcholine, pattern separation. We got all these different models. We got it's maddening. It's like I just want it to be done. I just want it to go away. And yet it's consuming everything in my life. And it's just like, why? Anyways, I'm actually annoyed right now because this was supposed to be my most solid experiment. Like I was like, I'm done. I'm seeing like everything I want to see, and that's really annoying. But what I think I might do, it's just the amount of reading necessary is so annoying because I'll have to read more about this particular thing. Okay, I'll have to read about this. What I think I could do, I could take it from just out of curiosity right now. Let's see if we set the sparsity really low to what 0.05. Oh, 0.05. We're gonna keep acetylcholine at 0.3 because that's where I start to see the issue. So if I'm not seeing the issues at all, that's the information we need. Oh, so that actually does change this too by a lot. So I guess it's universally changing it. So I will have to fix it up. But let's see if that changes anything. So the sparsity is really low now. Okay, let's keep the encoded and the noisy and the recovered. So you are seeing that impact here when the sparsity is really low, even though it's supposed to be I think, let me check. In theory, this is now basically good. So I think that's a good solution because this is already everything's already designed correctly. It's balanced or whatever. It's made to already be multiplying by the sparsity or whatever. So I think I'm gonna lower the sparsity amount and then I'm gonna go like this for my experiment. Okay, let's try it at from 0.05 to 0.1. I mean to 1 or something, and just see. And then I want to do a graph. I want to do a graph like showing how it changed, the sparsity level changes with the recall, particularly things like the novelty. I feel like I'm getting better at thinking like a researcher over time, which has been pretty cool. Like I think it's been really instructive speaking to my supervisor, even though when we meet, we don't meet that long. We meet like half an hour and stuff. But I think like actually I've been learning a lot from the kind of suggestions that he makes. And I think it's been easier for me to learn like to think like a researcher, because I think that's what a researcher would do, you know? Or just learning things like how do I actually defend my issues that I have. And I think that I just feel like that's what a researcher would do, right? Is they would see the sparsity over time and then like how is that changing the novelty and stuff. I don't know. I think so. I think that's the difference, that like the thing I'm gonna implement. And that way I don't have to actually change, like everything is already good here, everything's already set. I just think that the sparsity was like really, really high and not very representative of like a brain in general from what I'm reading. And because of that, you weren't seeing that impact. Where already when you make the sparsity, when you make the sparsity closer to what it would be in the dentate theories anyways, because this is already even still lower because it tries to make it like really sparse from what I just read. You see like usually like 2 to 5% of neurons in the hippocampus, and then it was talking about, I don't know, stuff like that. So the acetylcholine level should, it's not just the acetylcholine also, but this one, the granule cells usually are very sparse, like 1 to 2%. So yeah, I think that was the issue. Look, I just feel like I've been really proud of myself in this period because I've had to problem solve so much, and I just see myself becoming a researcher and thinking more like a researcher and like making conclusions more like a researcher like over time, and that's made me feel really proud of myself by a lot. So anyways, yeah, that's my next choice. I think this video was still pretty short, so I think I'm still gonna add more to it. If not, bye.